and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is Jindal Uni Advice Part 2. So this video is geared more towards people who are still considering joining Jindal and are on the fence about it. So there's no definite answer whether you should or should not, and like most things, it is a fairly complex decision. I would like to put a disclaimer and say that I will not be making that decision for you. It's something that you have to decide considering what you want and what you're looking for. But with this video, I hope at least I can clear some of the myths and misconceptions and help you weigh the pros and cons about the place. So without much further ado, let's get started. There are many factors to consider when you're choosing which university to go to, like fees, location, brand value, job prospects, faculty, uni culture and life. So in this video, I will be addressing each of the issues. It's really not a secret that the fees at Jindal can be really high. Currently the fees, and I'm looking at it, is about 7.7 lakhs per year, which is quite a high amount, and because of that it does get its name as being very elitist and privileged, and all of those things are really true. Although yes, you can get scholarships, you can even get up to like 90% scholarships if you score high enough in the LSATs and things like that, but overall I would say that Jindal is a fairly expensive place and you should only consider choosing it if you're really sure that you want to do law and you like it and you really like it. So if you're still unsure whether you should do law or not, I would not recommend joining Jindal because the fees is a major thing that you need to consider. Point number 2, it's where? Jindal Global Law School is in Sonipat, Haryana, which is a little small village in Haryana, and the location of that place is an important thing to consider when you're choosing your university, because it might be too far for you, too remote, not much of a party scene or life there, which all of those things are true. So that's something to consider. But on the plus point, it's not that far from Delhi, so you don't feel like you are completely in the middle of nowhere. Delhi is fairly accessible from Haryana, from Jindal, because they have daily shuttles running, and in Delhi you get your metro, which is the best thing ever. So that's that. Point number 3, brand value. So Jindal's brand value is pretty good, and as I'm sure you've seen from the million ads that Jindal does everywhere, it's number 1 the QMS rankings, and like it's one of the best private universities when it comes to legal education in India, and all of those brilliant things. And yeah, those things are fairly true because Jindal is a pretty good place, but if you're strictly talking about brand value, it's really not comparable to those of NLUs, because they still hold that, oh, national law schools are literally the best thing in the world, right? They produce, I don't know, gods. But considering all things, I think Jindal's brand value is fairly comparable, and that's solely because of the excellent standards that have been established by Jindal students when they're working in different places. Point number 4, job prospects. So job prospects at Jindal are fairly decent if you want to know the numbers, and this number of percentage of people at Jindal placed at blah 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 firms, and they're doing these things. I'm sure you can look it up at the university's website. But honestly, I would say it's not bad. I know so many people who were placed at leading law firms through the Jindal placement system, but that doesn't mean that you can just chill and relax and not work and think that you will be placed, because that's just not gonna happen. You need to put in the work, and you need to put in the effort really. The placement situation at Jindal is fairly decent, but it's not like 100% placement guaranteed or anything like that. I would not say that is the case at all. And by the time you get to your 5th year and you're considering jobs and things like that, many people don't want to be placed at law firms and they consider many different opportunities, and Jindal does truly help you with those things. Right now, because of ye old plague, Jindal is still trying to help all the graduates find some sort of job or the other, and they have come with a number of plans to help us get through all of that, and I think that's a fairly good thing to do. So that's for you to consider as well. Point number 5, faculty. So this, in my opinion, is what makes Jindal the best place really, because Jindal's faculty is honestly the best ever. They are a bunch of really kind, smart, intelligent people, and it is what makes Jindal, because they are just the best part about it. You will not find better faculty at any other place than Jindal. Point number 6, uniculture. And oh my god, I can talk about this for days, and depending on who you speak to, you will get varying answers. Some people will say it is literally the best place on earth because they made friends forever and God knows what. And if you speak to other people, they would say it's the worst place ever because it's so cliquey and all the other bad things. And I can only talk about my opinion and my experience. I would like to preface by saying that I didn't have the most positive experience at Jindal, but that's my situation and that's completely different. But I can objectively say that the university culture at Jindal is pretty good. Like most places, you will find different kinds of people. But overall, I would say people at Jindal are very supportive, very understanding, and just a bunch of really nice people. So with that out of the way, let's ready to spill some tea, shall we? So, okay, finally, I will address it. Let's talk about the drug culture in Jindal, shall we? It is a myth, and I don't know to what extent it is a myth, but it is also true that Jindal has kind of a drug culture. But I feel like that's also true for many of the universities in India. They all have drug cultures to various degrees and extent, right? But it's really not as bad as everybody would have you believe. We are not all just a bunch of stoners lying in gardens, not attending classes or anything like that. You have your dedicated stoners who do that all the time, but you also have other people who don't do drugs, and it doesn't mean that you have to do drugs to be able to make friends, or you will be alone and have no friends if you don't do drugs. That's absolutely not true. I know so many people at Jindal who don't do drugs and have great friends, and I know people who are hardcore stoners and they have friends who are not stoners and who don't do drugs or drink or anything like that at all. So it's not a be all or end all of things. You can make friends who do drugs and you can make friends who don't do drugs. It's really a personal choice, and it's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. I don't know what else to say. And I know like people like to believe, oh, people in Jindal, they're just so chill and they just smoke up and do nothing at all. That's not true, because at Jindal you also have a bunch of really hardworking, academically oriented people who participate in so many moods and debates and do all of these brilliant things. And they might also be stoners. It's just not a correlation at all. It's just a thing. It's just a part of university culture. Another myth that I've heard is that Jindal is a very cliquey place, and I guess it can be a cliquey place in a very superficial way, but in my experience, Jindal is a very inclusive place because it has people not only from different parts of India but from parts of the world. And yeah, you have some people who are really cliquey and they have like their really close group of friends, but that doesn't mean that you can't find other people who are not like that. And it's not that difficult to make friends in Jindal. You just need to find the right kind of people, and I think like that statement holds true for a lot of places in general. Another thing is that, you know what they say about law schools, that law schools are such a competitive place that it is really impossible to make real friendships or have like any sort of real connection with people, because it's just insanely competitive and everybody in that place and in your class is basically a competitor, right? Because you're all competing for that grade, for that job and whatnot. So it can be difficult to make friends, but that's not always the case, because in spite of all of those things, and it can still be a very supportive and nurturing place where you have people who genuinely care for you and who genuinely want to see you rise and be the best version of yourself. So I think it just comes down to finding your set of people. And yeah, see, university is a very different space from schools, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to grow and learn more about yourself. And this is where you know, in a very cliche way, where you go and discover yourself, right? So you just need to find the right kind of people. And I think most importantly, at the end of the day, you need to remember that you are joining university for the education, not for anything else, but to get a degree at the end of the day. And yeah, having those friends and life experiences is a great thing. And you know what? All the media would have its belief that university is when you make friends that last your lifetime, and that can be true for many people, but that's also not true for many people. But that doesn't mean that you will not make any friends in your life and that you will be a failure forever. That's not true at all. I think it's really important to consider that you are at university to get a degree. So if you don't come up with good friends that like last you forever, that's nothing to beat yourself about, right? Because you have your entire life to do all of those things. And that is a caveat, because I still think that at Jindal you can make great friends. So with that really sappy kind of cringy talk out of the way, let's address the few questions that I got from my last videos. So people wanted to know if it's like really geared towards rote learning, like as most of CBSE is, and I don't think that's true at all. Universities are not a place where you rote learn, right? It's where you apply yourself. And I know so many people who were from ICSE boards and GC, and who did A levels and who went to IB boards, and they found Jindal really good. So if that's one of your concerns, I hope that helps you. And I guess with that, I have addressed pretty much all the questions I had, and I hope that helps you make your decision. Please like this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
I'm worried about the way I've been living. I'm worried that you'll look at me different. I'm worried that this will all change. I'm worried